So, Sunday night, I was watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Good film.
Yeah, one of my faves.
It's okay.
One of my faves. For me, Andrew Garfield, the best Spider-Man.
No.
And you might have your opinions to say, this is not what we're here to discuss. So I was scrolling through Twitter and scrolling through Instagram and seeing all this reaction to George Floyd. I remember seeing pictures of it and being like, this is awful, and look what has like happened off the back of it. And I remember putting my phone down and then I pressed play on the TV and continued watching Spider-Man. Now, spoiler alert, the end of Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy dies. And whilst I'm watching it, I start crying because Andrew Garfield's acting is so phenomenal, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's lost the love of his life, right? I feel devastated for him. And what happens is in that moment, I'm like, I need to tweet about this. Like, I need to tweet about Gwen Stacy dying and Andrew Garfield being the best Spider-Man. So I went to pick up my phone, and as I start writing this tweet, I feel like God speaks to me in that moment and says, right, you're gonna tweet and you're gonna Instagram about a character, a movie character that's died, but what you've seen today through social media and the true story of this guy being killed by a police officer hasn't driven you to do anything. And I quickly realised that for me, the fear of saying the wrong thing in that moment drove me to say nothing. So I didn't tweet about it, I didn't say anything. And so something within me was stirred, and I thought we need to open up a conversation where we can chat as brothers, as friends, and chat about race, racial injustice, racism. It comes from a place of like, I want to stand with you, but also I don't understand.
I think like, first of all, it's big that you were like, actually we need to do something about this, because it's kind of like you could have had that conviction and still just carried on. So I think first and foremost, that's amazing. And that's one of the reasons you're a friend of 16 years plus, because actually you do stuff about it. But then also I love the fact that actually the conversation, like who do I know that I can conversate with, rather than just throwing something on Instagram or Twitter for the sake of it. But actually I do want to understand, so actually who do I know that can educate me? And I think that's something that some people might be missing during this time, in regards to like, gather your friends, do some research before you then put something on Instagram and whatnot. And I commend you for that. That's big. So thanks for the honesty.
I was going to say the same thing, because I think a lot of people that'll be watching this as well are probably in the same position as you, where they'll feel like because they're a white person, they feel like they can't say something, they don't know what to say because they're scared in how to say. So I think the fact that this is happening right now, this is like a great first this is a cool first step to take in order to be able to understand a bit more of the struggles. And even as this conversation will develop, Shola's struggles will be different to my struggles, and my struggles will be different to Shola's struggles, but nevertheless the struggle is real.
What's been your experience then, Dan?
My experience, man.
Tell us.
So I'm mixed race. My dad is black and my mom is white, and I'm originally from Portugal. Now, the makeup in Portugal, I guess, is quite different to the UK, I would say. I think whilst growing up in particular, there was a lot of overt racism happening, where people would kind of get in your face and say things like, you are a monkey, you should go back to the jungle, go back to Africa. Hearing that, my dad being a church pastor, being a vicar, being actually he's a bishop, and someone, and a white Christian coming up to him and saying, you N-words, you will never be able to lead a church with white people in it. And I'm watching all this, I'm thinking, how is this even possible? How can we say, how can you say that you love Jesus and nevertheless you treat people that look differently to you in a kind of a lower level? And for I guess a big chunk of my life, I did dislike the color of my skin, simply because I wanted to be accepted, simply because being a mixed race kid in school was kind of like a novelty. People didn't really get it. How could I have a black parent and a white parent? They didn't really get that. As time went on, obviously I started to understand, I started to learn a bit more, I started to embrace the color of my skin and actually enjoy and appreciate and believing that actually God made me this way, that actually, as it says in the Bible, in Genesis, in the beginning of the Bible, it says that we are made in the image of God. So that was the shift in my mindset, like actually I am made in the image of God, that God made me this way. and this is how he intended it to be. And once I realized that as a young person, that was so freeing. What about you, bro?
I kind of felt like I didn't want to speak on this because I didn't feel like I had experienced overt racism. So I was kind of like, I feel hypocritical, like putting my voice to it when I haven't really experienced it. And I think that's still my stance. I don't think I've really experienced overt racism where people were like just playing in your face kind of thing. But I think it is the covert. It's still really real. Just even like little jokes like, "Oh, you're late because you're black people time." Things like that used to get me. And I think maybe out of ignorance on my own part, I kind of just ignored it and just kind of brushed it off. Or maybe I was thick-skinned, I don't know. But I think what Daniel said in regards to that value, that original value, seeing yourself in the image of God first and foremost, and then being able to see other people in the image of God. I think if we get that right, like all sin, all outworks of sin, aka racism, aka abuse, aka whatever it is, name the outworking of sin, it all comes to that root of actually we've devalued ourselves and we devalued others, and we outwork it in various ways, and one of the ways is racism. That's what we're talking about today, and it's sad because that wasn't the original intent. And for young people, old people, people our age, like that's not the original intent. So we need I think, let's go to that and look at that, and then hopefully we get that right. The fruit of everything else should be in order, like dominoes.
How do comments and how does stereotypes and things that you would have grown up with, how does that affect you guys?
Like there's one part in the Bible that says, stay away from all coarse joking, and I for some reason I just hold on to that. So like with any kind of like coarse joke, whether it be about race or whether it be about feminism or whatever it may be, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to partake in that, because the Bible, the book that I read, the Lord that I serve, says that I shouldn't be a part of it. So I'm kind of like, okay, that's my first stance on all of it. In regards to how it affects in the day-to-day, as I said, maybe I just ignore it and maybe I let it go, and I wouldn't say that it's affected me that much. In regards to like when I was younger, I would just laugh it off. Yeah, I'm late. So what? We're here. Boom. Let's move on. We can continue talking about the fact that I'm late and put it towards my heritage, or we can now go into the cinema and do what we came to do. I'm late. Maybe there was an issue at home that I had to take care of, and it's just sad that your first point of call would be to say that rather than, Sola, why are you late?
What's going on?
What's going on? And it goes back to that human thing. Is that actually, do you care about me as a human, or do you just see me as, it's because you're black, this is what happens, this is what black people do?
Did you ever have conversations at school with white friends about race?
This is how awful it was. I remember in my school, my history teacher we were doing something about art, and I remember he said that there's this painting, and then he said it's a black canvas and a red dot. What does it mean? And people were going on saying this is us in the universe, this is loneliness, whatever. And he said, nah, it's an N-word smoking a cigar naked. And I remember being sat there thinking, wait, what the heck? I genuinely cannot believe he just said that. No one said anything about it. It wasn't something that I went out and then talked about with my friends. Like, can you believe he just did that? It was something that I had to go back home and process it with my parents and talk with my parents. And then, sitting with my dad and my dad kind of having to explain and explain about the struggle and the stuff that he had to face as a young person and the struggle that he had to face. But what was interesting, what's crazy, is just seeing my dad then pointing to the ways of Jesus and saying, look at what Jesus did, but this is how Jesus acts. And I believe it's because of those words that made me not be a bitter, angry, resentful. I feel the pain, I feel the struggle, but I'm not motivated by resentment. I'm not motivated by bitterness, because I constantly remind myself of the words that my dad said, pointing to the words of what Jesus said.
I think it was more the talking in regards to the banter / non-banter kind of stuff. And I think I didn't approach it well. I just got defensive. When I was younger, I was an angry person just in general, so like any kind of thing that I got challenged with, I'll be on the defensive, so I didn't handle it well. So it wasn't conversations like this where actually we want to educate and we want to learn, and we want to understand and empathize. It was more a case of like, oh, I feel like you're attacking me, or I would attack them. I'm like, oh, is it because I'm black that you're saying that kind of thing? So I was really not the young person to have a conversation with at all. So I would encourage anybody who's young watching this, and you are wanting to have a conversation, make sure you have a good reason why. Make sure you're not trying to just ram down your opinion, but like gather your friends. Be honest, be vulnerable. I don't understand. I don't know where I stand. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to be during this time. I don't know how to feel during this time. Start with a safe space of your friends, and then from there, they will help you work it out, and you will help them work it out. And that's something that, like, just for me growing up, was that actually, or being grown now, I don't want to just speak about it just for the sake of speaking about it. I want to be integral and understand. So even this is helping me process the situation and process things.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that the little bit that you saw was helpful and was beneficial. I just wanted to let you know this. I believe that even though in the midst of all the stuff that's happening, I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that there is hope. That in the midst of this storm that has been going on for years, which has been going on for centuries really, there is hope, and hope has a name, and his name is Jesus. Yes, this is a global pandemic. Racism is a global pandemic that's been stretched throughout humanity really, but I believe that this hope is a global thing as well. I believe that hope is available for everyone that chooses to believe, for everyone that chooses to put their faith. Racism is a problem of the heart, but I know someone that can change the heart, and his name is Jesus. So remember, there is hope. There is always hope. Be the change. Listen, learn, see how you can support your fellow black friends. Love you guys.